Welcome everybody. Today is October 13th. This is our MPO executive meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Item number 2 is a vote on the approval of the agenda. Any discussion? McCoy has moved it. Is there a second?
Second, Reba.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Item number 3 is vote on the approval of the meeting minutes from our September 8th meeting. Any discussion? Move.
Second, County.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Item number 4 is consent and vote on contracts and expenses. Todd, you want to talk a little bit about the one expense we've got there?
Yeah, thank you. Legal services from Denton's Davis Brown firm for contract work on water trails agreements, as well as some of the economic development district work. Roughly $6,800. Would recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Todd? Todd, we're still in line with our legal services for the Water Trails Build Grant. We haven't gone over budget, have we?
No, sir.
Move to approve, Stephanie, Reba.
Thanks, Stephanie. Is there a second? Second. Coy second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Item number 5 is report and vote on the FHWA and DOT Build Grant agreements. Todd, I think you're going to tackle this one.
Yep, I'll give her a shot. These are the final 2 agreements in the series of agreements for the Water Trails Build Grant. The FHWA Build Grant Agreement hasn't really changed since we've shown you a draft several times over the last several months. We did update the total cost amount, but other than that, the recipient is the DOT from FHWA. The MPO is considered the first tier subrecipient. As I mentioned, we shared this at the February meeting. It hasn't changed much. We updated some of the project estimates that were part of the plan turn in to the DOT a couple of weeks ago. And then changed the plan specification estimate dates November 15th, which is why we're approving this now. So all this is done before we get to November 15th. Next slide. Yeah, with DOT MPO sub-agreement, we shared a kind of a shell of that with you last month. The language hasn't changed in that, other than we've filled in some of the blanks that were in that. It's the standard DOT agreement that was information for this project was added into it. Allows the MPO to use the DOT's approved bidding and contracts process, which is why we're going through that process. Otherwise, the MPO would have to develop its own contract and bidding process, which would take a couple of years to do. Outlines the reimbursement process. We've discussed that over the last several months with you, showing you the flow charts and how that's going to work out, and then makes the responsible charge onto the MPO. Again, this needs to be approved for the bid letting process prior to November 1st to get everything into the DOT system. I have had Scott review these agreements. He's in agreement that they're ready for approval. Scott, I don't know if you want to say anything about them.
The only thing I might mention is that I know some of the concerns have been raised previously. I think if you look at the back page of the MPO IDOT agreement, has attachment 1 to attachment A is indemnification requirements that are put upon the contractor. And I think these are appropriately broad. And so I hope that gives us some comfort going forward that we have other folks back there backstopping if there is a problem.
Thanks, Scott. So I'd be happy to take any questions, but we would recommend approval of these documents.
I appreciate the info. Do we have any questions for Todd or discussion? That's always good, Todd. There's no questions.
Approval, Weaver.
Second.
Here.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Item number 6 is report and vote on the City of Carlisle CDBG administration contract. Andrew, you're going to give us an update.
Yes, thank you. So the City of Carlisle recently applied for a COVID CDBG grant, which is a carve off of the CARES Act funding that they received as kind of one-off CDBG funding. It's for a local business there in town, Sprouts Early Learning Academy. It's a daycare in their downtown. So they applied for $85,000, which would go towards hiring new staff as well as some other eligible items. IEDA recommends that all CDBG grantees hire a grant administrator, because grant administrators typically have a lot more knowledge, a larger knowledge base in CDBG grant administration. In order to facilitate the movement of this grant application because of the timeliness and the need to hire staff at the local business, NPO offered to administer the grant for a fee, since we do have administration expertise in CDBG. So if awarded, that's if Carlisle is awarded, we have offered to do it for a price of up to $5,000. That does not necessarily mean it will cost $5,000. We will bill an hourly fee that's all encompassing, but we wanted to make sure that we also weren't billing too much too. So we will bill up to $5,000, and Sprouts has agreed to reimburse the state of Carlisle for the administration costs. So staff recommends approval of the grant, if you have, or the applicant, excuse me, contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Andrew, thanks for the update. Any questions for Andrew? All right, this is the last voting item, so I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move it, Gare.
Second, Reba.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Item number 7 is report from Todd on the office lease renewal.
Yeah, thank you. We've been in discussions with Nat Properties over the last several months about looking at renewing our lease for our current space. We also looked at other spaces and what the cost would be there. Most of the costs were comparable to what we're currently, or what's proposed in a new lease. On the screen, you can see some of the proposed terms of the lease. First 5 years, a base rate of $14.95 per square, full service. Option of 2 additional years at $15.25 full service. We also have the option at 5 years to terminate or renew the lease for another 5 years. Includes upgrades to the flooring, lighting, etc. Some additional parking isn't thrown in there, and then an option on that spare space if it becomes if the economic development district gets rolling, we could potentially take that space for that entity and work with them to pay for it. So just some information on kind of where the lease discussions are at. We'll be bringing this back to you next month for the actual lease agreement. So happy to answer questions.
What do we pay now, Todd, per square foot?
$15.25.
Okay.
So they've rolled it back a little bit.
Yep.
And added some features for us.
Sure. Any other questions for Todd?
Hey,
Discussion?
Todd, Todd, Steve, Gare, have you guys looked at any other space downtown, or you've just focused on this?
We did look at some other spaces, Steve. Got cost estimates for the other spaces. They were all in the same basic price neighborhood. So it just seemed that the cost of moving for really no change in our rent rate wasn't worthwhile.
No, I understand. I think the big concern we've all had, and of course, it was pre-COVID, was how hard it was to get parking for us to come down there for meetings.
Yeah, and a lot of the other spaces, one might have had a little easier parking, though it was all outdoor parking. The others, I don't think the parking would have been any easier. But we'll have a little better option on parking, I think, going forward with this current space.
So Todd, when you say a little better, does that mean there's designated MPO spots in the garage, or how's that?
Yeah, we'll have a few designated spots in the garage for the MPO.
Okay. Any other questions for Todd? All right, thank you. Item number 8 is report on Central Iowa Trail Roughness Condition Interaction Report B.
Thank you. Yeah, so the FPO collects trail roughness condition of the data. We publish that data almost every year through our physical reports, but going forward, the NPO will now publish that data in an online interactive format. We thought this change would hopefully make the data more accessible and more engaging for everyone. So what that actually looks like is a online application where you could select pavement imagery from each of the years that we collected data, as well as the trail roughness from each of the years that we have collected data. So on the screen here, you could see in green, it's kind of faint, but that's the trail roughness condition, and then next to it is photo points of the pavement, and then when you click on it, you have the option to click on that enlarged image of the of that pavement. So we think this is generally more accessible and more engaging than our previous printed reports. If you have any questions about this web application, I will be happy to take them.
Any questions for Zeke?
I just got a couple questions. I looked at the interactive map a little bit, and it covers quite a bit of trail area. From start to finish, how long does it take to cover that map? I mean, how long does it take to gather the data to compile to get into that map?
Sure. It kind of depends on whether we're looking at the regional trail network or the local trail network. For the regional trail network, I would say maybe 3 or 4 months. We usually do it during the summer. But for the local trail network, because they're a bit smaller and usually a bit disjointed, we have to spend a bit more time to go to all the neighborhoods and get to all those segments. So I would also say it's around 3 to 4 months, maybe 1 or 2 more weeks for the local trails. Since
Yeah, I was just curious because the conditions can change fairly quickly. I ride quite a bit of the trails, and it says, I forget the top category, very good or very smooth, something like that. I mean, it does have spots, but my bigger concern, and I don't know who this question is directed to, but is the MPO playing any part on the regional sections of the trails to coordinate repairs, to coordinate conditions, that kind of stuff? I mean, we've got the region has a huge asset there, and I'd hate to see it follow the path that, what was it, the Neil Smith Trail out by Saylorville down to Des Moines went. They basically had to tear the entire thing out and redo it instead of maintaining it. But so it's kind of a general question. I don't know if anybody has an answer, but I've mentioned this before, but I'd like to see the MPO get a little bit more involved in the regional portions of these trails.
Yeah, I would say that what we currently do is the bike ped roundtable meets, I think, every month or every other month, and they do discuss trail pavement at the bike ped roundtable, but I haven't been to it recently, so I'm not sure the most recent coordination that they're working on. But I would say on the MPO level, that's how we're addressing trail pavement at a regional level.
Because I know there's a fund out there. I know Ankeny pays into it, and I'm sure everybody else does also. But other than the fact that we pay into it, I really don't know how it operates or who's in charge of it or anything like that. But I just think that could be a good discussion for a future topic for good discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we can bring that back, gather some more information for you, Gary, and have a further discussion on a regional approach on maintenance.
All right.
Thanks, Gary. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. See, item number 9 is the report, DART safety performance targets in fiscal year 2022.
Yep, that would also
You get to do this again.
Yeah, so the Federal Transit Administration has a public transportation agency safety plan regulation that requires transit agencies to prepare safety plans and also coordinate with the MPO in the process. So for FY 2022, DOT has updated the safety targets, but the safety plan remains unchanged. So this month, we're just bringing you the targets for your initial review. And next month, we have invited Pat Daly. He's the safety manager at DOT to give us a bit more information on these targets before we vote on them next month. And as part of this coordination, after we adopt the targets, we'll be incorporating DOT safety plans and targets into our MPO planning documents. If you have any questions on these safety targets, I'll be happy to take them at this time.
Thanks, Z. Any questions for Z? All right. Item number 10 is report on the Iowa DOT 2018 to 2022 HSIP targets.
Yep.
Z?
Yeah. Oh. Also, it's the last one for me. The Federal Highway Administration, as part of the Highway Safety Improvement Program, they require MPOs and DOTs to annually report safety performance measures. MPOs could either support the statewide targets or develop their own. Previously, the MPO has been developing their own for the region, but then based on feedback from the MPO executive committee, we are looking at adopting the DOT statewide targets instead. We will still continue to report on regional safety performance. So the table on the right is the DOT's 2018 to 2022 safety targets that will be looking at this month, and next month we'll be bringing this topic back to you again for your vote and approval. So in terms of regional safety performance, this table compares current safety performance at a statewide level and also a metro-wide level, last updated October 12th, I think yesterday. So at a MPO level, what we're seeing is that serious injuries have exceeded what we have saw last year, and fatalities and also non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries are also getting very close to exceeding what we saw last year. On a statewide level, we still have a bit of a gap between the numbers we are seeing this year compared to last year. If you have any questions on these safety targets, I could take them at this time.
Thanks, Z. Any questions, comments? I hear none. Thank you. Item number 11 is priority project solicitation for annual DC trip. Zach?
Just want to give you a quick update to let you know that we've kicked off our process to update the priority project list. We've given the tech committee a deadline of December 16th to give us their updates to the projects, and we sent off the spreadsheet to them late last week to have them start making those updates. So if you have any questions, happy to take this at this time. Otherwise, just wanted to make you aware that we're starting that process.
This is for next May's trip. Yep. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Assuming that's in May.
Yeah, I got you. All right, I hear none. Item 12 is a report on renewal of Polk County Watershed Management MOU from Allison.
Okay, so each year we have been updating the MOU with Polk County. Just to remind you some of the MPO duties in that. We help with the WMA administration minutes, putting things together, making sure that open meeting laws are met. We help with the mapping plan and policy development, as well as outreach and communication like the rate campaign and other things like that. In discussing with John Swanson on our roles and how we want to keep this MOU going forward, we decided to revise the language to make it a perpetual agreement so that each year we're not kind of going back and forth, and that this can kind of just go on until one of the parties decides that it's no longer valuable. So the document was in your agenda packet with the changes there. Really, the only changes are to revise that language to make it perpetual. So putting words in like annual, and we did put the withdrawal date as March 1st of each year. So that aligns better with our work program development and our budgeting cycle here at the MPO. It does stay at the same price, so $10,000 annually to the MPO in 2 installments, and we did add language to solidify those would be in April and October. That's usually when we do it, just have that language to be sure. The draft did go to the MPO council, got comments back this week. The document that you have in front of you is the most revised, and next it'll be going to Polk County's legal as well for their input. So I just wanted to bring this to you, let you know these changes, and next month we'll be bringing it back to you for approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Thank you, Allison. Any questions for Allison? Okay, item 13 is report on the ICLEI regional affiliate membership.
Yes, that'll be me too.
Yep.
So we know that a lot of Des Moines community or Des Moines metro communities and even the county are taking steps in climate action. Des Moines obviously has greenhouse gas inventory that was developed in 2017. That will be updated with their climate action and adaptation plan coming up. Urbandale just recently signed an agreement for greenhouse gas inventory with UNI Center for Energy and Environmental Education. Johnson is exploring these things, and then Polk County actually just signed a resolution as well for greenhouse reductions, energy audit, and climate action plan. Federally, just last week, 20+ agencies from the federal government released their climate resilience plans. So things are moving there. We know that once the infrastructure bill, all these processes in Washington, D.C. happen, there could be a good chance of having a lot of climate funding coming down the pipeline. And so we wanted to at least offer up options for the Metro to kind of consolidate these things. And so one of those options is Icle. It is the local governments for sustainability. It is a worldwide organization, the first and largest local government collaborative that works towards incorporating these pieces into sustainability goals across the world. So there are 3 membership pathways. One, the city of Des Moines is part of the city, tribal, and county membership. The one that MPO can look at is the regional affiliate. So we would work as a region, and then educational institutions, which the UNI CEEE has. And that's what they're using to do Urbandale's and previously Des Moines greenhouse gas inventory. So the regional membership benefits are very much similar to what you would get from the city. You get the frameworks for some of the policy and action that cities are taking. Tools like ClearPath make it easier to jump over that first hurdle of getting a greenhouse gas emission study done. And then there would be the option to do technical assistance and create cohorts for cities that are taking action to kind of work together and think through how their individual communities need to do whatever they need to do. It's a toolbox, not a cookie cutter. So a couple things just on, it is a membership fee-based organization. And so there are different tiers. Most of the Des Moines area communities would be in that first tier, the $1,200 level. Des Moines sits in that $2,250. And at present, actually Marion County, who I believe is on the call, is actually the U.S. president of the Global Executive Committee. So we have really good foundations here in the Metro with this organization. If you add that up, it's about $18,000 a year for the whole entire Metro. If each individual community wanted to become part of this and create their own greenhouse gas inventories. And so one of the ideas that MPO staff has is becoming a regional affiliate and combining, putting all this effort into one effort, and then the MPO could actually provide these resources for it. Again, Des Moines and CEEE are part of this already, and neither of their statuses would be affected if the MPO decides to become a regional affiliate. And as other cities move forward in their planning and action, they could also join, and that would not be affected as well. So just want to let you know that through this membership, the MPO could be kind of a data clearinghouse and provide these greenhouse gas inventories for member jurisdictions. It would really create a nice, it would remove the barriers of one of the main pieces mentioned that greenhouse gas inventory is a technical document. It does require quite a bit of data collection and cleaning, as well as preparing the document, and we can do that in-house. Again, we can connect all the member communities with those technical resources and trainings, getting them ready to take action, and then having them ready to apply for federal or any other dollars that are available to take to move the needle forward. And then the other big one is it would kind of encourage that cohesiveness among climate action. Not every city is going to do exactly the same thing, but we can start along the same baselines using the same kind of reporting data and things like that. And so then when we do regional things like any of our long range transportation, our hazard mitigation, we could all be on the same page, and it would be a much more level playing field as well in preparing those documents and getting ready. So again, it could save the region up to $15,000 annually if this is something they wanted to do. So I just wanted to bring it forward that this is an option. I know a lot of cities are looking at these things, and CEEE only has so much manpower. If we brought that in here, we could start kind of training our staff as well as training other staff, and potentially even students at Drake or Central and things like that. So I just want to bring that forward to you for your consideration, and I'd be happy to take any questions you have at this time.
Allison, thank you. Any questions for Allison? When you talk about training, is there anyone that doesn't need training here that's able to do some of this stuff? And how many hours are we talking about taking out of your weekly, or how many people?
Sure. Yeah, that's so the training would mostly be on using the program, their Clear Path program that pumps in and out all the numbers. And so that would be mostly me being trained on that. And I've already been trained on the scoping of climate and greenhouse gas inventories. I just don't know their program. And so we would have a specific technical advisor for getting me through that. And then once we gather the data from the energy companies and things like that, then it would pretty much be a pretty smooth process where we could kind of pump it out like monthly performance reports. So it wouldn't take too much time. It would take some staff time. Obviously, there's 16 communities, a couple counties within our region, but it wouldn't take up, all of my time by any means. And it would depend going forward how often we want to redo and update those greenhouse gas inventories. Some cities do it every 2 years, some do it every 5, and so that's kind of up to the MPO and our program, things like that.
Okay. Any other questions for Allison? Comments? All right, we'll move on to item 14 is a report on the Purple Heart Highway. Todd?
Yeah, thank you. As mentioned previously, there's a meeting with the DOT next week to discuss kind of next steps. DOT has been meeting with and will continue to meet with some other stakeholders. You can see the list there, and there's Andy can chime in here, but I think there's potentially some others that may join in the conversation as well. Once those conversations are completed, I believe the intention is for Scott Marler and folks to get back and kind of do a summary of what was discussed and then next steps after that. That's kind of where we're at right now.
Any questions for Todd? Thanks, Todd. Item 15 is report on the Economic Development District update from Gunner.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, we've moved through phase 1. We have support for the creation of EDD, and we've moved through phase 2, having done everything we need to ask to have our region designated as an EDD. We are now into phase 3, and we're kind of in wait mode. Next slide. We submitted everything at the beginning of last month or beginning of September. And we have begun to receive some feedback on our comprehensive economic development strategy, as well as on the designation application itself. So staff is in the process of updating those, and we'll get those back to EDA in order to keep their designation application review process on track. And in the meantime, staff has begun having some conversations with eligible partners. We do anticipate the option of being fully operational sometime early next year. I'm ready for the next slide now. Thank you. Just also want to mention that we have been doing some work with a handful of jurisdictions about potential applications. And also that ISU and DMAC are pursuing grant applications using the SEDS that we've developed. That's it for me.
Gunner, thank you.
Of course.
Questions? Item 16 is report on the transload facility update from Zach.
Just want to give you a quick update on where we're at with the transload facility. They're making a lot of good progress. They're wrapping up pouring the warehouse slab currently. I think as you recall, I mentioned that they're using really innovative concrete technology out of Germany. That allows them to pour a 4-inch slab with steel fibers in it, rather than having to pour like a 8-inch slab. So it saves them a lot of money and it still has the same strength as the 8-inch slab. So really kind of cool technology they're using there. Railworks is completing the track installation. They're scheduled to have all that completed by the end of the month. The roof was 90% completed when I spoke to Gabe last week, so I think it might even be completely 100% completed now. They're installing a truck scale on the site this week, I believe. And they've also got pretty much all the office walls completed, and they're working on hiring some positions. So they've got a manager, operations manager hired, and then they've also posted for a business manager, and they're currently trying to fill that position. As usual, just wanted to share some photos with you to kind of see what things look like on the ground. You can see here, these first few images all deal with the track that's being installed. Here's an image where you can see pretty much all that track leading into the existing track there. And then you've got an image here of the guys working on the track. And Dave was telling me it's really cool to watch these guys work, because they still swing the hammers and stuff. They don't have big machines that are doing this. It's still guys out there swinging hammers with spikes. So it's pretty cool to watch them do their work. This image shows the concrete that's being poured out in front of the facility there. You got some more workers here working on that same section of concrete. And this just gives you a really nice image of the whole site there with the building in the background. You can see where they've laid down the white gravel back there where they're pouring that concrete. And then in the front here, what you see is all the work they're doing for stormwater management and such. So really a lot of progress happening on site. As I mentioned, the railroad work is supposed to be completed by the end of this month. They're anticipating that the rail will be actual operational in November. The warehouse will be operational in early February. And then they're anticipating that the project close out and everything will happen in March. They do have to wait till the spring of 2022 to get their full formal certificate of occupancy. And that really has to do with getting the landscaping completed. See if Des Moines requires that to get that certificate. And obviously, they're not going to get landscaping done here in wintertime. So once the spring rolls around, they can get that landscaping in, they'll have that certificate. So that's where things are at. Everything has been going really smoothly. The weather has really cooperated, and they've made a lot of really good progress. So we're excited to see where they're at this point. If that answers your questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions for Zach? All right, looks great. I drove by it last night. It's pretty impressive. Item 17 is a report on the legislative update for Dylan.
Thanks. As you probably are aware, there's still no bill yet that has been passed. The reconciliation bill is the thing that's holding it up. They want everything to move forward together. Senators Manchin and Sinema wanted to be lower than what the 3.5 million that's proposed. So it sounds like somewhere between 2 and 2.3 trillion, or sorry, trillion, I guess it's 9 trillion is what they're looking at now. So it sounds like people are trying to figure out what should get cut and what those trade-offs are going to be. In the meantime, the 30-day continuing resolution was passed as the transportation bill was set to expire at the end of September. So now we have until the end of this month. And if they're still not done, they'll just keep doing that until they have something figured out. So that's what we know right now. We'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more.
Thank you. Any questions for Dylan? Item 18 is the report on upcoming events from Gunner.
Well, if you're not busy after this, you can set off to the APA annual conference, which starts later today. All the information is on the screen there for you, or you can just talk to Zach or Dylan. They can get you the hookup. Next slide is public meeting on US 69 Polk County. This is about a long corridor from Warren County line in Des Moines all the way up to I-80 in Polk County. A couple of formats for your awareness. There's an in-person and virtual option. Next slide. Also on US 69, looking at a section in Ankeny, following this findings of operations and safety study that was done there. Again, in-person and virtual options. And lastly, I've mentioned these virtual options on the DOT's outreach here. So just want to let you know where you can create an account for their new outreach virtual tool here called Reach. Next slide. And then also for your awareness, as I've said in previous meetings, we've got the Ice Storm 2021 virtual conference and exhibition coming up later this month. Details are on the screen. And I believe that's the last one for me.
Thanks, Gunner.
Anytime.
Any questions for Gunner, comments? Item 19 is a vote on the approval of the MPO Policy Committee agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Move it. Move by second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The abstentions? Motion passes. Item number 20 is any other non-action items of interest in the committee? Anybody have anything?
This is Stephanie, and I'm sorry I was interrupted at the end of the agenda item 13. Did I completely miss the Purple Highway update? If so, I will circle back with Todd directly.
Yeah, it was pretty short, Stephanie, and I was just responding to your text, so I'll reach back out to you after this.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, everyone.
No problem. Anybody else? All right, everybody, thank you. Our next meeting is November 10th at 11:30, and this meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Well, yeah. That's done. Yeah. That was the last piece, right? That's it. So that's it. Yeah. Great. I don't know.